Welcome to the inUpowers podcast, where we give a name and a face to emotion. We discuss the real and raw when it comes to mental and emotional health. We are here to teach you that emotions are information and behavior is a choice. We want to help you make safer connections through healthy communication by empowering you to understand what your emotions are telling you. I'm your host, Tammy Hymas. Let's get started. Welcome to the inUpowers podcast. I'm Tammy Hymas.
And I'm Nikki Tavares.
And we are here today to talk to you about our moments.
Yes.
In fact, in our program, we talk about moments all the time. And the reason why we talk about moments is because you hear people say all the time, I've had a bad day or I've had a bad week. And really, you've had a bad moment and you've continued to play that narrative in your head. And according to the CDC, it takes 90 seconds once you've labeled an emotion for it to process through the parasympathetic system. And your parasympathetic system is that reactive system, or your heart racing or your palms sweaty. And so we talk about moments so that you can label your emotion and process it. But do children even understand that concept? And are people still stuck in these bad days?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, right? Because the younger you are, your concept of time is completely different, right?
It's true.
So you're not sure how long this is going to last, right? Or if there's a consequence, that consequence then might last longer than you wanted it to, type of thing. But yeah, first of all, learning time and the concept of time. I mean, I remember when my kids were younger, when we were going someplace, we'd say, okay, 2 more sleeps. Right? Because I couldn't say 24 hours or 48 hours or 2 days. They had no concept of 2 days, right? But I could say 2 more sleeps and they would understand that, right? Or, 1 more episode, we would turn off the TV, or something, right? So there's those types of time and moments of teaching them about time. And then as you get older and you understand that there's, 24 hours in a day, 60, minutes. But I think our subconscious thinks that the whole day's ruined. Or I might as well, this whole day's ruined because this one thing just ruined the whole day. So I might as well just...
It's snowing outside. I'm going to have the worst day. Or it's raining outside. Or it's sunny outside. Or it's fall. Or this is my least favorite season. Do we just get stuck?
I think we do. I think we know you spill something on your shirt in the morning and now this is going to be a bad day.
And then our brain pulls out all the reasons it was a bad day.
Well, not even that. I think at the end of the day we could do that, but I think in the beginning of the day our brain will start to go, because this can happen and then this can happen at school, this is going to happen, or at work this is probably going to happen, and all the what could happen starts going out. And then if one of them happens to happen, see, told you so, gonna have a bad day. Or at the end of the day, like what you said, I think if we are looking for the bad,
you always find what you're
those
looking
things,
for.
just like if you were to look for the good in the day, all those things will come back what happened. So it's just getting in the right mindset, because it's only a moment. I made a bad choice this moment. Okay, now I can do better and be better and move on. So it's just retraining our brain to think it's just a moment. It's not about it being a day, it's a moment. And I loved when I started working here, you explaining the whole 90 seconds and how we have, was it 960?
There's 960 moments a day.
Right, so even though we might have had this bad 90 seconds or even 180 seconds, the fact that when you were sleeping, you had good moments. When you were, you always would say, you can't tell me that you were bad all day. What about when you were eating your lunch? Did you make good choices then? Well, yeah. And were you doing good then? Well, yeah. Well, there's time that it wasn't bad. Well, what about this? And like just proving that all the moments of our day are not bad. And
averagely, we are good people. We are good humans.
Yeah, explain what
average.
You explained to me about the 960 moments in a day. Yeah.
So 90 seconds is how long it takes once you've labeled a rough emotion, like one of our storms, like a what about me moment or obliviously selfishly incinerating moment. When you recognize you are in fear or anger or stress or abandonment or whatever that emotion is, when you label it, the parasympathetic system, which is is your sweaty palms, racing of your heart, the butterflies in your stomach, the agitation to light, or just the racing of your heart. All of those things calm down and the physiological response to your emotion stops because you labeled it, and the neuron receptors in your brain start to be triggered to calm it down. And then from there you can process the emotion, or understand the information your emotion was telling you. And we as humans listen to the news, we search the internet, we see all posts about things. There's so much technological ways to get information, and innately our amygdala, the base part of our brain, the emotion part of our brain, is looking to prepare us for what's bad. So if we sit there naturally, we're looking for what we could be fearful of or scared of or trapped in, and so we naturally think protective thoughts. But our actions are not innately bad. In fact, most of our actions throughout a day are great. In fact, we get up and we get ready. And whether we picked out the perfect outfit or not, we're ready for the day. We're clean. We've smiled. We've brushed our teeth. We've put some deodorant on. We got out of bed. For some people, getting out of bed is the feat. And that is a victory. And then we took one step and put it in front of the other. And then we got in the car and we got to a destination, but somebody cut us off. Well, did you hit their car? Or did they cut you off and then your head go wild, but nothing actually happened because you behaved yourself because you didn't want to be in a car accident, right?
Right.
So you thought this war in your head, but nothing bad actually happened. And then you get to work and you've decided you're going to have a bad day and you're riding in the elevator and somebody smiles at you. What do you innately do when somebody smiles at you?
You smile back.
Right. So now you've shared a smile. So you've gotten up, you've gotten ready, you've got to work, nobody's been in an accident, and now you've ridden an elevator and you've shared a smile. So your actions so far in the day, not one of them has been bad. Your thoughts and the things you've put into the world might have been bad, but your actual actions and what you're experiencing in reality have been good. And then you go throughout your day and you go to the bathroom and you finish your report, or you teach a child, or whatever your profession is, and you're getting your tasks accomplished. You're adding to the world. You're making money. Or you have a day off and you're serving, or you're spending money, or whatever you're doing. If you are in the world and you are not hurting the world, it's good. And we don't pay attention to those moments. When you're asleep, you are doing good. When you are walking and experiencing our air, you are doing good.
So in other words, we keep focusing on the bad.
Absolutely.
The things that irritate us, the things that make us angry, or for a child, they're having a rough day at school and they made a bad choice, say hitting someone or whatnot, doesn't mean the rest of the day has to be that way, but we're just focusing on that and then letting our thoughts get away from us and ruin the rest of our day.
Exactly, because our thoughts want to write narratives. We want to connect dots. We want to predict, okay, I'm going to drive home, or okay, I can squeeze out this many more minutes before I actually get to work, because then that way I can just speed through this light and this is all going to work out. And then you get to on the road and everything's rush hour traffic and you're not able to speed anywhere, and now you're late. And so now you're like, oh, now it's going to be a bad day. I'm already late. I'm behind. And then you start focusing and you rewrite narratives that aren't true because you aren't living in your moment. Instead of living in the moments that we have, each 90-second moment that can be a different emotion, we obsess over the past or try to predict the future. But when you are where your hands are and you're living in your moment, then you are experiencing the smile you shared on the elevator. You're experiencing putting on the clothes and having them fit, or be tight because you had a full belly, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or be warm because you're no longer cold because you have clothes to wear, or be happy that you have more than one pair of shoes to try on. Like, we get so focused on what we don't have that we forget to see what we do have.
Or the good things that are happening in our lives.
Right.
And stuff like that. And I think that's where I was talking about how we need to switch our mind to thinking the day's ruined to, okay, how can I make this day better?
Exactly.
This was not what I wanted to happen. So now I got to take it and, make, the whole phrase, make lemonade out of lemons.
Yes. Take this lemon and make it lemonade.
Right? I'm late to work. Okay, so now I'm going to make sure I get this, this, and this done, and so that I don't get behind.
Exactly.
Things like that, and change that mindset of the negativity to the positivity.
Well, and you said that the child would have a bad moment, right? And
Yeah.
they would be really upset. But then they go to lunch and a friend shares a cookie. Is it still a bad day?
No.
It's a moment that you had a hard time and your friend saw you and shared a cookie. And we, as a human family, say, oh, I've had a bad day, I've had a bad week, I've had a bad year, I'm surviving. Absolutely, because you've created a narrative in your head that's miserable. And instead of enjoying your life, you're surviving a life that is actually pretty wonderful.
That's true. I think if we like that whole perspective thing,
right?
If we can change our perspective and how we see it. And I know I've said this before that our brains are like filing cabinets, yes. And whatever we feed that narrative, whatever we ask of our brain, all the evidence is going to come out to support it.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean it's going to happen or be the truth for today.
Exactly.
Yeah, you mean you might have been late for work a time before, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen today. Or, bad things might have happened, not bad things, but things that made you angry. Someone else was rude to you today and you're like, what's going on? We just will feed that narrative like you're talking about and get the supporting evidence. But just like you can get the supporting evidence for the negative, you can get the supporting evidence for the positive.
Yes, but positive is not natural.
It's not.
So a negative automatic thought, we call it a gnat, like a gnat in nature, a negative automatic thought. We actually created a character with it. That gnat, that is very natural. That is autopilot. But you don't want an autopilot driving in a storm. And you don't want an autopilot living your life. So when you want positive thoughts, we call them a pat, like a pat on the back. Like that's what we do for a baby. It's a positive action thought. It is very intentional to have a positive thought and positive narratives. But if you do it enough, it becomes natural. And then you really truly can see what we're living in and the world we really share. And when I was teaching this or speaking with this, we had a counselor. I was at a play therapy conference, mm-hmm. and I was talking with lots of counselors and a lot of people. And there's this one very amazing counselor, and she works on the inner city of Houston, Texas. And she has children who have very oppressed lives, and they're high school age. And she was having them fill these buckets up for trauma, for all the times they've had trauma in their lives, and the water was like black. Because every time they put a drop of black in it, and it would go from light black to really, 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 really black and really, really dark. And we started talking about moments and trauma and stuff. And she goes, these kids have experienced so much trauma. But what she had done is she'd put a clear glass in a big bucket of clear water. So she had a clear glass, and then it sat in another bucket of clear water. But when she filled up that glass with the black water, it made the clear water dark. But as soon as she removed that jar of dark water, it was clear again. And she pointed out that when those kids experienced that trauma, their thoughts were absorbed around that trauma. And so it just got darker and darker and darker. But when she removed the thoughts of trauma all the time out, it was clear again. She goes, that's how they can heal. And it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness. So not only did they experience a traumatic experience, but they are continually experiencing a terrible moment over and over again because of their thoughts. And I thought, how often are we doing that? And so I realized, and she goes, oh, by the way, we have 10 thoughts per action. So it's more like 9,600 moments a day if you're going to keep replaying the dark or the hard or the negative. And because that was so powerful and profound, I wanted to share it. And I wanted to remind you guys that we have 90-second moments every day. Or
960
Thank you.
Moments a day.
And they're 90 seconds.
Well, it's so true, because if you keep thinking, I had this student one time, and he thought he kind of got the label as the troublemaker.
Right.
So then he's like, well, if everyone thinks I'm a troublemaker, I'm just going to live up to it.
Right.
And it took him we had to work with him to retrain himself. You're not the troublemaker.
No.
You're not. And it's stuff because he just kept hearing it over and over again, and then he kept playing that over and over again in his mind.
And it went 10 times faster in his mind than it did in action.
Exactly. And so I think if we can change our way of thinking and thinking for a positive, and that how it's just a moment and I can get through this and I can make different choices moving down. And even if it's just choice of angry thoughts.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to let go of these angry thoughts and I'm going to keep positive.
Right.
Instead of replaying those negative, angry thoughts in my head. If we can just change those thoughts and realize I can have good moments.
Exactly.
And focus on those.
So our challenge this week for you would be to recognize your moments. And if you are stuck in a thought pattern of a negative moment, to try to get out of your head and out of your way and be where your hands are and have the next moment be good. Because really your thoughts and your actions innately, naturally, are normally good. And on that note, remember,
emotions are information.
And behavior is a choice. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the inUpowers podcast. We are grateful you are here. Please share this podcast with those you know who might need it, and follow and rate us so we can continue providing this podcast to you. Follow us on social media to see more visuals about the inUpowers, and join us next week for another episode. Until then, remember, the power to choose is in you.